order the meeting of the Mayor and Board of Aldermen for Tuesday, March 7th. Keisha Atkinson she is the coach of the track team, and they have a track meet, so she'll be scooting in late. She thought they'd be finished by about 5 or 5:15, so she will be here. A few changes, actually a lot of changes to the agenda. I'm going to ask you to delete number 12. And then several additions. If you will bear with me here, at 7A6, request permission to transfer a 2014 Dodge Ram with the VIN number listed to the town of Beulah. We declared a truck surplus at our February 21st Board of Aldermen meeting, and I am going to drive that truck to Beulah, Mississippi on Friday and give it to their mayor, who has been collecting trash in his own vehicle. They do not have one city vehicle, and it's a town of 244 people, and the statute reads that if it's in the best interest of the taxpayers of the city of Oxford and the state of Mississippi, then we can make that transfer, and I think it is certainly in the best interest of the taxpayers of Mississippi. That's 7A6. At 7A7, if you'll add request permission to approve and authorize the mayor to sign an auction agreement for the sale of a surplus garbage truck with J.M. Wood Auction Company. At 7D, number 11, if you'll add request permission for 2 employees to travel to Prattville, Alabama to deliver a surplus garbage truck to the auction on March 13th and 14th at an estimated cost of $695. If you will add at 7D12, request permission for 2 employees to attend the J.M. Wood auction in Prattville, Alabama on March 20th and 21st at an estimated cost of $695. If you will add at 16A, request permission to approve and authorize the mayor and board to sign a proclamation of existence of a local emergency for the severe storm on March 3rd. At 7B4, request permission to promote a part-time employee in the Environmental Services Department to full-time. And at 7B5, request permission to approve a step raise for an employee in the Development Services Department for completion of ADA certification. Sorry, yes, sir.
Before you, on 7A7, the auction agreement, assuming compliance with auditing regulations. We're still checking on that. We couldn't get an answer today.
Okay. All right. Add that, Ashley. Thank you. I couldn't write fast enough. All right. So with all of those changes, do I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oxford is hopping. As I know that you have all seen, we have had some huge weekends with Ole Miss baseball and M-Trade Park events. Expect more of that and more traffic and more people, and you know that also means more sales tax. So we are looking forward to a very busy next few months. M-Trade Park had their largest event ever with 155, I think, teams. Bart, is that right? 152 teams. Brad's not back there, but they had their largest tournament ever this past week, and we have several more coming up that, if registrations go as usual right before the event, will be that large as well. Amberlyn Lyles and her crew have been working so diligently to get all of our trash carts out. We appreciate people's patience with us. Amberlyn and her crew did such an amazing job of foreseeing questions and concerns that people would have, and on those carts you will find information of exactly how to switch out to the new cart, stickers to stick on your old cart if you want us to pick it up. We do ask that those carts be put out on your day that you put out limbs and other things, not on your trash day. And I was told about 10 minutes ago that they just delivered their last trash cart. So the transition has been made. We are still spending a lot of time lobbying our legislators in Jackson asking for money, which is something that we have been pretty successful at the past few years and anticipate that we will be this year. And on our agenda, you will see that Bart Robinson and Alderman Bailey and I will be going back to DC the last week in March with our handout. So that is it for our mayor's report. I will ask you to authorize the approval of the minutes of the special meeting on February the 17th, the special meeting on February 21st, and the regular meeting on February the 21st.
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Request permission to accept corrected copies of minutes for the regular meeting on February the 1st and the regular meeting on February 15th to amend the number of surplus parking meters on each meeting from 25 to 50.
Yes, minor typo on my part. I had 25, should have been 50. So that's the only two corrections, those sets of minutes.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ask for your permission to authorize the approval of accounts for all city departments.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Ask you to consider the consent agenda with the many changes I listed.
Motion consider consent agenda as amended. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are excited to have several members of the Rotary Club here with us tonight, and we're very blessed to have a Rotary Club that invests in the community. Not only do they talk the talk, but they walk the walk. And Hale Freeland is here tonight to make a presentation. So come on up.
And the mayor is an ex officio member of our club.
That's right.
There is a free lunch for you any Tuesday.
Thank you, thank you.
I got this, Phil was worried about how long I would go, so he gave me this list.
Well, good.
And I want to get to a game, by the way. But anyway, the Rotary Club has been around since, the 20s. 1924. And we wouldn't have a paved square if it wasn't for the Oxford Rotary. We've done service projects. We did the paving, the first paving of the square. We've done some buildings. We have plaque for the oldest buildings. We did the pavilion on the Pat Lamar. We've done the where we had a garden on each part of the square. And because of that, and we paid for a police dog. And this year, the district out of Memphis in that area and our club has $5,000 to do a fountain next door so people could enjoy it. So we're happy to be service above self is our motto. So we're unlike a lot of individual companies and groups. We give money to the government.
And we thank you for it very much. We are excited about our park next door, and I know that this water feature, this fountain, is going to be just a really prominent part of people sitting and enjoying the sound and just a little bit of tranquility in this crazy world.
Until the first.
The dedication of it, and it's my honor and my privilege and my pleasure to represent the Oxford Rotary Club today and present the city with a check for $5,000. I'd like to hand it to you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
And we're always looking for another project to fill a need.
Thank you.
I thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Hale.
We appreciate y'all.
Well, we appreciate all that the Rotary Club does, and both of you men as well. Thank you.
They'll never give me money.
Who was that?
Thank y'all.
Absolutely.
Move
Thank you.
Move we accept the donation.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Thank
you. Now we're going to have a presentation of the Lifesaver Award. We can skip that and come back to it if we need to. We good? Okay. All right, so Chief Gardner.
So yes, ma'am, on February 23rd, we responded to a possible stabbing here in town, and our guys that responded did a great job. That was Captain EMT John Cole Trammell, Lieutenant EMT Advanced Brett Childs, that's a new one to have to say, and then firefighter Shane Arbuckle. And so we have Captain Trammell and Lieutenant Childs here tonight. If they would come up, and we will give them their award. Yeah, that means up here. Firefighter Arbuckle is actually in 1001 right now at the Fire
Awesome.
Academy, so he is not here. I think that was his last week to work before he went to the class. but we just wanted to acknowledge them with this Lifesaver Award. And it says, in acknowledgement of your unselfish actions during an emergency occurrence on February 23rd, 2023, which concluded in the saving of human life, your befitting application of training, experience, and equipment illustrates your commitment to duty, the conservation of life, and service to the community. And so we wanted to just recognize these guys for their hard work.
Absolutely. Chief McCutcheon texted me after that call, and he said, I'll tell you this, the only reason that that gentleman made it is because of the actions of the Oxford Fire Department, so thank you.
Mayor, I'd just like to say something.
Yes, please do.
We would like to thank y'all for investing in us. The education that you provide to us helps us to provide to the public.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that more than you know.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and now Chief Gardner, first reading of a proposed ordinance amending chapter 38. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I did. I'm sorry. I'm looking at all these Chief Gardners. Next is the presentation of the 2022 Oxford Fire Department Annual Report.
So yes, ma'am, this will only take a few minutes. It's our annual report. Just on the first few pages, just a list of our calls and how they broke down throughout the year. For the total last year, we had 3,167 calls, which is increased 543 from the year before. As you can see, the majority of those are EMS calls, like the call that we just talked about. We had 1,303 of those, which is up 281 from the previous year.
Wow.
And then you can go through and see everything else, the way they broke down. We had the busiest time of the day, which is always surprising to me, but it's 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. Busiest days of the week, Saturday and Sunday. This year, our busiest month was December. Of course, we did have the cold there at Christmas,
yeah.
which we had 140 calls in 48 hours, but there was 368 in December. And something I thought was interesting this year is with the increase, in 2021, we had 5 months where we had less than 200 calls. In 22, we only had 1 month with less than 200 calls, so we were a lot busier this year. The next page is our inspection report. Our inspectors, you know, we have 3 fire inspectors. They did a total of 1,846 inspections in the city of Oxford last year.
Wowzer.
That's a lot.
That is a lot.
Then we have a breakdown of our public education program. They broke it down to everything we did this year. Between children and adults, we were able to provide fire education, public education to 6,435 people. So that's kids and adults. That's fire extinguisher classes and other training. And then this year, since we had Jesse Clock, our training officer, provided me with a list of all of our training hours for the year. And I'm not going to try to go through all that, but it was a total of 15,607 hours of training for the Oxford Fire Department
That's
this
awesome.
year. So we're very proud of Jesse for that. And
Should be.
unless you have any questions, that is our annual report.
Great work, and I appreciate the work that went into compiling all of these numbers, Chief, and, you know, again, it's more than fighting fires, and
is.
I just appreciate that they are typically the first guys to the call for any ambulance request or anything else, so.
We are a lot of the times first.
I
ones
know, and I just appreciate it and know that, y'all service is saving lives, and we just saw proof of that, so thank you very
Thank you.
much. All right, next is the first reading of a proposed ordinance amending chapter 38, section 38 through 60 to change final fire inspection fees.
Yes, ma'am. So currently, to get a final fire inspection, it is $50. And then each time we go back is $75. So if we go back 1 time, it's $75. If we go back 5 times, it's $75 each. And so the changes that we're asking for is to leave the first trip is $50, but then the next trip would increase to $100, and it basically doubles every time after that. And we've met with the ordinance review committee. They didn't seem to have a problem with it. We're just getting into the habit of going places, and when they know that they're not ready, but we're having to go out there, send the 3 inspectors to do this final, and then they know they're not ready when we get there, we go back because people don't mind $75. So we're just trying to increase that a little bit to help with that problem.
Yes, well, and, you know, what we talked about in the committee meeting that we had was that, a lot of people let us come the first time just to see what they need to do. So we end up going back repeatedly with people knowing that they're not prepared for the inspection, but are wanting us to kind of give them their checklists, and that's not really the service that we're offering. So, hopefully this will inspire people to try to get all of the checks done before.
And then also, like now, where the final is $50, and if you have a hood suppression system, a fire alarm system, a sprinkler system, or an elevator, we charge $50 for each of those inspections. In the changes, we're asking to go to $100 on each of those inspections, and they would, you know, increase also on the re-inspections.
All right, so that's the first reading. Does anybody have any questions about that? We will have our second reading and public hearing at our next board meeting. Thank you, Chief. Request permission to approve a parade assembly permit for CASA to host a 5K Kids Fun Run on March 25th from 5 a.m. to 10 a.m.
So moved.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Rob? Request permission to accept the quotes received and to approve the sole source purchase and installation of a new stair screen for the wastewater treatment plant.
So moved.
Have you seen it? No.
Let me get a word in here. This is a very expensive
Yeah.
piece of equipment.
Right.
And we don't have it in this year's budget, but it will take a year to manufacture this equipment. And so I'm gonna include it in my fiscal 24 budget. We've got plenty of time to get that worked in. And, but it is an integral part of the treatment process where we remove the larger solids from the waste before it goes through our,
We would like the larger solids removed.
That's having to be-
It's $180,000.
Purchase.
that's having to be done by
That's
hand
not
now.
budgeted for, so.
Since we don't have the equipment. That's having to be done by
Shut
hand
up.
until we get this equipment replaced, so,
Like with a pool brush thing?
like with the rake and other items, so.
Wow.
moved. Second.
Is there a fee we can put on it to expedite it for these poor
I'll
guys?
check. I'll check.
All
It's
right,
very
so
important.
motion and second, all in favor? Any opposed? Whoever votes no has to go do it.
Take a turn.
That's right. Request permission to accept the reverse auction bid for a backhoe loader in the Oxford Utilities Water and Sewer Division.
Yes, we had a backhoe in our fiscal 23 budget. It came in just under our budgeted amount of $130,000. The price was $129,981, and so we did a reverse auction online and got a bidder that met the specifications. I'm asking to authorize purchase.
Motion made. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Mr. Fortner, request permission to add Emergency Management Director Shane Fortner as the applicant agent on FEMA disasters 4598 and 4429, being further identified as projects FEMA 4598 and FEMA 4429.
Yes, ma'am. These are previous disasters from a couple of years ago, and we just need to change the paperwork, and I've got with Miss Ashley to get that.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, and also request permission to approve and authorize the mayor and board to sign a proclamation of existence of a local emergency for the severe storm on March 3rd.
Yes, ma'am. We had multiple storm damage, trees cross roadways, power lines down. We had one tree actually fall onto a house. We've had damage in 2 separate parks in the city. And right now we're working with environmental services and other crews for debris cleanup at this time.
And didn't you tell me that we tied with another city for the highest recorded wind?
Yes, so the recorded wind for miles per hour for the state, we were in the top 3, tied with other for 55 miles per hour for that Friday.
we beat Starkville.
I don't know if we beat Starkville.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
And Mayor, that blank form is on your spot right there. If y'all pass around it, the alderman will sign that. We'll get that taken care of.
Okay. All right, first reading, oh, I'm sorry, something else? No. Okay. First reading of a proposed ordinance amending chapter 102, article 17, stopping, standing, parking restricted or prohibited on certain streets, section 102-550, penalties to add $1 assessment to parking fines.
Yes, ma'am. This will be for the parking fines to the city. They'll all increase $1, and it's for the computerized crime prevention fund that we've already adopted.
So moved.
And that was just a first reading.
Oh.
It's okay. So we will have a, that's right, that's great.
Just hold on to
We'll
that.
have a second reading and public hearing
It's only $1, he just wants to go on with it.
at our next meeting. Request permission to apply for the Stop the Bleeding Training Kit grant in the amount of $1,000.
Yes, this is for $1,000 worth of equipment. Stop the Bleed is a national program, so we were gonna put in for the grant. It's a no-cost match grant to get the equipment to start training.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Request permission to apply for the AARP Community Challenge grant in the amount of $10,000.
Yes, ma'am. This is to create a citizens preparedness workshop that will provide preparedness training to members of the community 50 and older, a no-cost match grant as well.
So moved.
Wonderful.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you very much. First reading of a proposed ordinance amending Chapter 54, Historic Preservation, Sections 54-26, 4B, and 54-29, and a change to the administration section of the Oxford Design Guidelines. Kate?
We are requesting, well, it's a first reading of a couple changes to the ordinance that are minor. The first is that our Section 5426 currently states that we'll mail a letter to applicants 15 days prior to their historic preservation or courthouse square hearing. It's not really practical with the way that things work anymore. We're on the phone with applicants, we're emailing with them, so it's kind of an administrative burden with not a lot of payoff.
Right.
And people are very aware of their hearing. We put a sign in the yard. So we haven't had any issue with that, so we'd like to remove that as a requirement. And Section 5429 and in the Oxford Design Guidelines, there's not a time limit put on the appeals process. So if you're denied at the commission level, there's no time to appeal to the Mayor and Board of Aldermen, and we'd like to make that 14 days, which will align with what it states in the planning ordinance, so that applicants, oftentimes they're going through the same process with planning, and so it's just consistent across the board.
You may have any questions? All right, that's just a first reading, so we'll have a second reading of that proposed ordinance change and a public hearing at our next meeting. Request permission to approve a final plat for case 2933 LT2 LLC Larry Brett for the Grove at Grand Oaks, Phase 7 for property located at Morris Drive, being further identified as PPIN 8949.
So this is Phase 7 of Grand Oaks and the Grove at Grand Oaks. It is about 14 and a half acres. There's 18 lots that range in size between just over a half an acre and just under an acre. If you recall, lots 102, 103, and 104 are partially inside the city limits, partially outside, which we're going through that annexation process right now. So the Planning Commission approved or recommended approval of this plat with the conditions listed in your report, most of which have been all satisfied.
Move we approve.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you. Consider acceptance of infrastructure in the Lamar Phase 4C. Rihanna.
Thank you. This is to accept the water, sewer, and street infrastructure in Lamar Phase 4C. The board has previously accepted Phase 4A and 4B, and this was part of an overall larger plat that the developer asked to break into smaller phases for bonding purposes. So we completed an inspection in July. There were subsequent drainage improvements that they did have to make due to some flooding in that area, and those have been completed. We expect to do a final inspection hopefully this week. So I'm asking for acceptance of 4C contingent on completion of all punch list items, receipt of the bonds, including the warranty bond, performance bond for the remaining items, the receipt of the as-built construction drawings, which we don't have yet, but we believe we will. So I would just like to get board approval, and when we receive all of these items, I would be authorized to sign the plat.
Motion made. Second. After receipt of items.
All right. All in favor? Any opposed? Consider change order number 1 in the amount of $27,186.40 for the Brittany Woods Connector Road project.
Yes, we have started construction on our Brittany Woods project, and once the clearing was completed, they started trying to do grading work in there and they've found groundwater. We did soil borings prior to start of the work for the design phase, but we bored near the creek and in that area and not next to Buddy East because that's a beautiful new road and we've already been through there once, so we didn't expect water. So this change order allows us to install a geotextile material come up with dirt. Basically, we're just raising the grade some, making adjustments so that we can bridge over that water, so that there's not an issue with our roadway. So that is what these change order costs are for, and I would say that there are definitely funds available as the project came in under budget.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed?
Somebody out of the audience.
That's Keisha.
It was.
Oh, I was like, what just happened? Okay.
Didn't know you were there, Keisha.
Consider change order number 2 in the amount of $3,627 for the Brittany Woods Water Project.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Second reading, public hearing, and potential vote on a proposed ordinance enlarging, extending, and defining the corporate limits and boundaries of the city of Oxford, Lafayette County, Mississippi, specifying the improvements to be made in the annexed territory and the municipal or public services to be rendered therein, and for other purposes related hereto. See how
It's the same
crazy
thing
we can make that.
Same
Pope?
thing we spoke on last week about the Grand Oaks. But if there's a motion made after the public hearing today, it will include findings and things to be done that are in that ordinance, that you all are concluding that you will be able to do those things. That's part of the adoption of the ordinance.
All right, so this is a second reading and public hearing. Is there anyone here to speak regarding this annexation?
Is there anyone here that doesn't work for the city of Oxford?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so, not hearing any feedback, would the board wish to vote tonight?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Last on the list is to request permission for myself, Chief Operating Officer Bart Robinson, and Alderman Bailey to attend congressional meetings in Washington, D.C., March 27th through the 30th. That is one of the only weeks that we can catch both the House and Senate in session at the same time, at an estimated cost of $5,969.40.
Make a motion to pay for the mayors and the COOs, but I don't know about Mr. Alderman.
The important thing to know is.
I'll let y'all arm wrestle that out.
There's,
There you go.
there's three really main purposes of it. We got several, 2 days worth of meetings scheduled, but the $5 million reappropriation on the THUD,
T-HUD.
project that we got a few years ago, T-HUD.
It'll probably end up being a thug.
That we got a few years ago. We got the $10 million authorization from the Word project. We're asking for $5 million to be appropriated for the M-Trade Park, water treatment plant. And then there's a new program that we're looking at that we're asking for $4 million from the HUD EDI grant for the OPC building potential renovations.
Motion.
So, it's a small amount to spend for what we hope the payoff is gonna be.
or $14 million.
Yeah. All right,
Maybe it'll come back with an essay.
Yes.
that'll be between the two of y'all. All right, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any opposed? Great, thank you. I'd ask the board to consider an executive session.
Motion made.
Do you,
Motion to consider.
do you have anything, Pope?